So these colors here that you see on this tooth all represent how close we are to the opposing tooth. If we were interproximally and we were looking at these, those colors would represent how close we are to tooth number 13 or distally to tooth number 15. And we'll get into what each one of these colors represents in a separate module. But suffice it to say that right now we're a little bit high. That's what these mean. So imagine if we go to our tool wheel and we went to shape, that we want to modify that. But what I just showed you is if we use anatomical and we try to lower the whole occlusal table, that's not necessarily what we want to do. We simply want to lower our occlusion in these spots here and here. So what I'm going to do is go to shape circular. Because what shape circular does is it moves smaller pieces of tooth at a time. So for instance, if I wanted to lower this, I could left click, move my mouse, and reduce it. I could left click, move my mouse, and reduce it. Maybe I'd like a little bit more occlusion over here on this functional palatal cusp. I could left click on my mouse, and I can move it in the other direction, so I could bring in contact. Shape circular is also excellent if I want to change an embrasure. If I want to drag this out, which would obviously be too much, or pull it in. If I'm looking at the distal, maybe I want to change that. I can tuck something in rather easily. Maybe I want to pull this piece of tooth in. So this is an excellent tool for lowering cusps, marginal ridges, pulling small pieces in. I'm going to rotate this model now. So we're looking from the buccal. But if I did not like the height of this distal buccal cusp, again, I can left click and I can take this cusp down. I can left click, take this cusp down. If I want to look from the lingual, again, I can rotate this model, or I can come to view options, click lingual. I can take this cusp down and pull this cusp down. Maybe I don't want this little spot here, and again, I'm just doing this more for demonstration purposes, but I can take that down as well. So shape is a really great tool to do some kind of big movements. Let's bring up our tool wheel again. Dimension is something we won't talk about now, and move is something we won't talk about now, because each of these tools basically mean you either really under-prepped your tooth or you took some really, really bad pictures. And what I really want you to get in the habit of is learning how to make good preps and take good pictures so the software does what it's intended to do, not so much trying to bail you out of major trouble. So shape is an excellent tool we use every day. Form is the other tool we use a lot. Form, we can do three big things. We can remove tooth structure, we can smooth tooth structure, and we can add it. So if you thought of this proposal as a wax up, think of form as either adding drops of wax, smoothing wax, or removing wax. Now each of these pictures kind of shows you what it does. If you look at the ad, it's giving you a hump of wax. It's like sticking, your instrument under a heater, taking a drop and plopping it on there. So for example, if we were to add wax, you're going to see a dimple there. Now if you notice, when I'm over this tooth, there's a little yellow ball. And now I can make it bigger. If I right click my mouse, I'm right clicking right now, if I roll my mouse towards my computer screen, that yellow is getting larger. If I roll it back, that yellow is getting smaller. What that means is I'm adding wax either in a small fashion or a large fashion. But you can see, just like when you're in pre-clinic, I've added drops of wax to my restoration. Now, if I want to remove that wax or smooth that wax, I could use either one. Now I'm going to do remove the other extreme on another cusp here. So I'm going to left click on that. and show you what remove does, because they really do what their picture shows. Remove creates a little crater in a tooth. So if I left click here and move my mouse around, I've created a nice dimple in this wax up, so to speak, this virtual wax up. That's really great if I'm making a rest prep in a tooth. That's really great if I want to define some anatomy, so we can use it for that, just to show you. If we follow this groove pattern and we like it, but we'd like some more depth, I can trace it out more. And again, if I go too far, I'll do it on purpose here. I'm going to open up that kind of ocean blue color here, and it's letting me know I'm too thin, so I wouldn't want to do that. So let's add that back until that goes away. And now we're in good shape. The tool I use the most with Inform is Smooth. And I'll show you why. Because what Smooth does, instead of making a crater, is it softens things. So I can even eliminate that crater. I could add that back in wax, or I can smooth it this way. I can take this anatomy and just not take it away, but lighten it up. And if I come from this angle so you can really see it, I can take this lump of wax we put on, and in seconds I can take it away. The key is left clicking and keeping this little finger in motion, whether I'm adding, subtracting, or smoothing. But I think you're getting the point that if I'm not adding wax, I prefer to smooth than I prefer, as opposed to, I should say, removing wax. The only time I'll remove wax, 3 occasions: increasing depth in anatomy, giving myself a wear facet if I'm trying to match adjacent teeth, or if I would like to put, say, a mesial spoon rest in this tooth. You know, we could do that if we wanted to. We could drop this down and create a really nice rest prep rather quickly. Pretty easy to do. But those are the only times I like to use Form Remove. Mainly I like to use Form Smooth. So those are the big tools, the major tools that we use. And here's your out. Because sometimes, like I said, people get lost in this little tool town here because they try to do form first, and then they go to shape, and then they're back to form, and then maybe they move it even though I told them not to move it, and all of a sudden you've built this tooth that you really hate. Your out is if you come third from the bottom to recalculate. Click on recalculate. It'll make you do it twice, just in case you hit it by accident the first time. But it will literally bring you back to ground zero and rebuild your tooth. Again, maybe 30, 40 seconds, and we should have our proposal back, and it will look pretty darn similar or identical to where we were when we first began. Almost there. Couple more seconds, and there you go. Same high spots we had in the beginning that I eliminated. But just to give you a real quick 101 demo, if this proposal came out, I would go to Tools, I would go to Shape, I'd make sure I was on Circular and 2 direction, left click, eliminate, left click, eliminate, left click. I might make this go the other direction so I've got a little more height, bring in a little occlusion here. And if I want to take this piece here and kind of, there we go, not so bad. How's our embrasures? Not so bad, maybe a little bit right here. We'll close that up. And really, really quickly we can build a tooth. Now from there, if we turn on all our little tools, where are we here? If we turn off occlusal contacts and we go to form, we've got really great anatomy, but again, one of the few times I'll use form remove is if I want to increase depth of my anatomy. I could come here and say, hey, you know what, we've got a nice groove here, but let's define it, so I'm going to left click. I kind of like the way this is looking, but again, I can define it if I like. I can define this a little more over here if I want to. And really quickly and really simply, if I come back and I want to smooth it now that I've defined it, I'm just going to keep this trackball moving really quickly and just kind of buzz over each of those little areas. And really, in almost no time whatsoever, we have built a really great looking tooth number 14. So that about wraps up tools for us today. We'll see you for our next module. Have a good one.